Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Women Think Bigger podcast. I'm so glad and honored to have you in this space here today, whether you're listening to the audio or just watching this video today. Um, Today's topic is going to be about something that we really often come across in our life journey, whether we are entrepreneurs or just if you're doing everything to achieve your goals. It is really likely that at some point you came across this feelings of doubt and uncertainty. And that's why I call the episode The Waves of Uncertainty, because they usually come in waves. It's not all the time, but at some point in our journey, they they come and go, and it's actually entirely normal and part of the process. So before we dive in today's episode, I just want you to start by having a new perspective on doubt and uncertainty. And I want to tell you that if at some point in your life you felt doubt or uncertainty, it means you're brave. It means you're courageous. Because if you think about it, those emotions only come because you did something different in your life, whether big or small, whether you just bought uh, some pants or a t-shirt online and you're not sure if they're going to fit, or whether you just took the decision to apply for another job and change city. Um, so that's the first thing. It means that you just took um, a step forward and you made a change in your life, which I think is just so important to recognize, because there's a lot of negative labeling that is associated with doubt. And the first thing we really need to tell ourselves and reframe that inner dialogue is that uncertainty and doubt, they come from being courageous. So I just wanted to start off with that um, little perspective, because it's going to be good to start rewriting our story about uncertainty and doubt. So the first concept that I want to talk about is looking at uncertainty as an encrypted message, an encrypted code. It's a bit unusual, but I think it's helpful to understand that there's always something beyond the surface. And what we want to understand, it's more like the behind, or what's behind of those emotions, and not just um, the feeling that we can have when we feel doubt. I think it's the body and the mind sending us a message, but we just need to decrypt it. And so for that, I want to do a quick exercise. If you can do it right now, it's great. If not, just do it after the listening to the episode. Um, I want you to think of a situation where you felt doubt or uncertainty. Could be a simple thing or just something that you may feeling right now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to see. We're gonna split it into two categories. So just for the purpose of the exercise, I'm gonna take an example of a situation, and we're going to look at it together and see how we can analyze the situation and in which category is the doubt falling into. So the example I want to take is just a common one. I want to take the example of someone changing jobs. So let's say you are it's been 5 years that you're in the company. Things have been good or bad. But anyway, you took the decision of applying to a new job and you're about to move city because you've been accepted. But obviously, there is a lot of doubt and uncertainty surrounding that decision. So, what I want you to look at is try to distinguish two things. The first one is the actual situation, the topic, the concept. And the second thing would be the outcome. So, the in the job situation, the topic would be around the decision of changing jobs, um, changing careers, changing location, but just the decision. And the outcome is a different thing. It's going to be related to, for example, um, the work environment in that new company, the results that you're going to get from um, changing jobs in terms of career development, or how you're going to feel in that new city. That's related to the outcome. The first one being the situation, the topic, and the second being the outcome. And it's important because if you feel doubt about the first part, which is just a decision in this case, it means that mostly doubt is coming from a lack of alignment. And if you feel doubt related to the outcome, it means that doubt is coming from mostly a lack of trust. So, in the first case, it comes from a lack of alignment. And in the second case, it comes from a lack of trust. And it's really important to kind of like decrypt the situations, because it's not the same. Let's say that the doubt is not coming from the same place within you. So it's not gonna come from the same place to be able to heal it. It's gonna require just a different um, internal process. So in the case of a lack of alignment, it's gonna manifest as an inner trigger. Most of the time, it's gonna come from the body and manifest itself with uncomfortable emotions, anxiety, um, some kind of pressure in the solar plexus area. It may happen that just one morning, to take the example of the job situation, the person is going to start feeling a bit anxious. So it's the initial starting point of manifestation of that doubt is usually an inner trigger. And in the second case, most of the time, it's not always, but it's just going to help you to start to pinpoint it. And most of the time, the outcome, when the doubt is related, to the outcome, is gonna usually happen after an external trigger. So in that case, let's say, for example, you come back to the office to pick up your things. You're about to say goodbye to everyone, and you receive really a hard, uh, warning letter from your colleagues, and suddenly your mind starts like having all these thoughts of whether this is the good decision, or if you're making a mistake. Or another external trigger can be someone in your family or friend group asking you, are you sure it's the right choice for you? So it's kind of an external thing that is going to trigger an emotion, is going to trigger the doubt. So in both cases, it can come from an inner or external trigger. It's just that I see that most of the time people have an inner trigger in the first part, like as a starting point. And in the second case, it's mostly coming from something they heard, they something that they read or something that someone said to them. And it is really important because when it's gonna give you peace to just understand the encrypted message of the doubt and the uncertainty. It's gonna give you peace to know whether you're falling out of alignment with your decision or whether you're still feeling that there's a lack of trust in your ability to trust whether yourself, in the sense that you trust yourself to eventually change again, job if that's not the right one for you, or you trust that there's a reason for you to move to that city. And if it's not the trust, then it's the alignment. And that's going to be another process for you to come home to yourself and start to see where you're making decisions that are not aligned for you. And usually when we make decisions that we don't align with, um, the doubt gets really, really loud, but it's not going to feel the same in the body when you're questioning whether you're aligned or whether you're trusting something. And I think what I see is most of the people, the outcome, the trust, but it can happen also that for some very big decisions, like for example, opening a business, we can also question sometimes. It can come from a lack of alignment because we have so much external pressure that we're not sure that we can really exactly do what we want. So we end up somehow doing half of what we wanted. And because there's a lack of alignment, the doubt is going to get really, really loud. So try to do this exercise and try to see which category do you feel is more relevant for your situation right now. And it's going to give you a lot of information. And as I always like to say that we have two sources of information. We have the wisdom of the body and we have the wisdom of the mind. So when you look at those emotions, try to see how they feel in the body and try to journal and see what the subconscious mind has to say. So that's the first starting point to understand doubt. And the second part is a little bit of what I was touching on in the intro is try to rewrite our story around uncertainty because there's a lot of shame and guilt around feeling uncertain. And this is not just in the business journey, in the entrepreneur world, is even in our daily lives. I don't know if you noticed, but it's really hard to say, I don't know, like even at a friend's dinner or a family dinner, like whenever someone will ask you something, I feel like every one of us kind of feels reluctant to say, I don't know, because it's such um, a negative bias of society, I think, to constantly feel like we need to know what we're doing. And it happened countless times that I was listening to interviews of other entrepreneurs, and they all said at some point they didn't know what they were doing. But somehow I feel like we're all pretending that we know because it's very uncomfortable to say that we don't know. And it doesn't make a lot of sense because, again, if you think that uncertainty is coming from a place of courage because you just did something different and new, the more we feel uncertainty, it means the more we are doing things and are evolving and changing. So it should really not be something that we fear. And there's this kind of notion of timing that we need to rewrite because the same way you don't expect to just bake a cake by just throwing all the ingredients in the oven, there's a process, there's a mixing of the ingredients. I'm doing a lot of baking recently, so that reference came up. But what I mean is that even in nature or in the world, nothing comes without a step by step process of transformation, eventually leading to a result. And I feel with uncertainty, I feel it stays like around even longer when you try to rush that process. So it's really important to detach yourselves from this pressure of just saying, I know, because even when, if you do the exercise that we, of the decrypting the code we talked about earlier, it might be that you don't get the answer right away. And so I just want you to think that there's nothing, I know that there's nothing wrong, but I just want to insist on the fact that it's really, really unlogical to think that uncertainty is not normal, because the world would be a better place if people just took more time to say that they don't know, and take the time to be aligned with their decision, take the time to sit with the discomfort, and just seeing like what the body, what the mind, what's the message behind. Because if you just keep on running through life trying to avoid those emotions, you're never going to get to the root, and you're never going to know how to heal it. And ultimately, you're going to keep on associating it with negative emotion without even fully understanding the why behind that. So, yeah, this really rewriting the story around the pressure of timing is really important as well. And the third and last thing that I wanted to talk about to really navigate uncertainty in a different way, it's a concept that really, when I think about it, just blew my mind when I looked at it in that perspective. So hopefully it would kind of like, yeah, make you uh, make you really look at things differently, because it was a game changer. Just to say in a different way, but it was a game changer for me when I looked at it in that light. So what I want you to think about is our bodies, our mind, our essence. I want you to think about it as a container, and I want you to understand that in the container, we need to be able to hold everything and all the emotions. And obviously, we don't want to have an abundance of sadness or frustration. There is always balance that we need to try to aim for. But if you think about a container, we need to increase our capacity to hold all the emotions. And think about that. Um, think of the fact that whenever you're able to hold more uncertainty on one hand, automatically you're able to hold more wealth, because you're talking about the same container. So increasing your capacity, expanding your capacity to hold those negative emotions is at the same time expanding your capacity to hold abundance and wealth and success, happiness, joy. It's the same container. It's the same mind and it's the same body. And as I was saying before, we don't want to have an abundance of sadness, but holding the emotion and being able to see it, process it, not judging it, and having it in the wealth, in the container. I said wealth because I think of a wealth container. It's just going to expand your container for also more positive emotions. So when I say hold, I don't mean that they need to stay in the body. I just mean holding your capacity to see the emotion without even you trying to erase it or just make it go away. The only fact that you have the capacity to see that you feel uncertain, you don't judge it, and you hold it in your container, it's actually very, very, very powerful. And the more we grow in life, the more we are confronted with emotions. And why I say that was such a game changer for me, the first reason is that I really had this um, negative relationship with negative emotions. It was hard for me to uh, process them, and I was somehow trying to avoid them. But with time, because I just didn't want to feel them like too often, and with time, I understood that there's a real difference of holding an emotion, which is just seeing that it's there, and versus just trying to process it. And what happened in the past is it was hard for me to distinguish just seeing the emotions and then processing the emotions. I think when we've done a lot of healing, it's sometimes uncomfortable to think we have to feel all those heavy emotions again. But actually, for me, holding them now, it just means that I'm able not to judge myself fully for having them. And I just see them and I just leave them there. And since I'm able to look at it in that way, I'm able to hold those emotions. Well, I really feel like the rest of the container has actually made room for more wealth, more joy, more happiness. So, yeah, I think it was the third important point of today's discussion, because we we need to really understand that it all comes from the same place. Everything is healed from the same place, and everything is expanded from the same place as well. So if you're able to hold uncertainty, you're able to hold much more of the good that you want to have in your life. So it's not separate. And using the body, the mind to just see what's behind, it's really helpful. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. Um, so let's just do a quick recap. Um, the starting point is the exercise of the encrypted code. So the purpose is try to identify in a situation where we feel doubt, where is the doubt coming from? Is it from the action, the decision, the topic itself, which is more likely to result from a lack of alignment? Or is it the outcome, in which case it requires us to build more trust on our capacity to handle certain things, our capacity to think that things are going to unfold well, and everything that is related to trust in general. The second point was understanding that it's counterintuitive, and to think that that we should have all the answers right away. That there is power in saying that we don't know. There's so much power in saying we don't know. And I really hope that so many more people would say, you know what, I don't know, because it would help us all feel better with just a very normal process. And the third thing is understanding that, yeah, whenever you can hold more of uncertainty, you're actually increasing your capacity to receive wealth and money and joy and success and everything else, because it's the same container. So let me know how this resonated, and I'm just curious to see if when you do the exercise, if anything comes up. And I really wish you an amazing day. And I can't wait to have you in another episode. Remember, women think bigger, and so do you now. Bye.